Being nice isn't supposed to feel bad. Being nice isn't supposed to come at a significant cost to your mental health and well-being. But the thing is, so many of us were taught these things that are nice, these ways of being that are nice, these ways of treating other people that are nice. And because I think most of us want to be kind, thoughtful, caring, loving individuals, we sometimes get that mixed up with doing things that are actually harmful to us without even realizing it. And it can be scary to change and not be doing those things anymore because we're like, maybe I won't be a nice person anymore. And I don't want to be someone who's not nice. I don't want to be someone that people see as selfish or difficult or rigid or self-centered. But I'm going to talk to you today about how to recognize these quote unquote nice behaviors, these nice ways of being that are actually harming you, and then how to change this around into a healthier way in order to be nice to others and nice to yourself. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself, say hello in the comment section below. If you're back again, always good to have you. If we don't know each other, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, speaker, and an author, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work to the next level. You're being guided and supported the whole way through. You can get more information in the description below. I help heart-centered humans think better, feel better, and have better so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And many of us were raised in these families where we were taught these ways of being that are quote unquote good ways of being. This is how good girls act. This is how good boys act. This is what makes you a nice person, without realizing that a lot of these things are actually harmful. They actually could be contributing in a significant way to any struggles that you're having with your mental health and well-being. And so let's recognize them first. Let's talk about why they're not good, and then let's work on doing something different. The first one is thinking that you're being nice by ignoring your needs. By always putting other people's wants, needs, or preferences first, pushing yours aside, pushing them down, not expressing them, not bringing them to the table. Now, I'm not saying that you're always supposed to say, this is what I need and everyone has to do what I need and my needs are the most important. Absolutely not. Because, you can if you want to. It's just not going to be great for having really healthy, mutually respectful relationships. But your wants, needs, and preferences do matter too. It's not all about you, but it's not never about you. And you are a person in any relationship, in any situation, who is allowed to be your full self in that relationship, in that situation. To be bringing forth what is important to you and also listening to what's important to the other person, having that give and take, having that mutual respect for one another, and having space for both people's wants, needs, and preferences in the relationship. It doesn't make you a nice person to be always repressing and suppressing yourself, because honestly, what ends up happening then too is you either lose yourself, become a shell of yourself, or become a really resentful self because everybody else always gets what they want and you never do. But it's probably because you think you're doing a good thing initially by putting yourself aside, but then you are losing yourself in the process. So an actual nice thing to do would be to hear what someone else wants, needs, thinks, and feels, talking about what you want, need, think, and feel, and then working together to figure out, maybe you take turns, maybe you come to a compromise, but allowing yourself to be your full self in any relationship is actually nice, because then you're not building up that bitterness and resentment and not losing yourself in the process. The next one is thinking that not having boundaries is nice. I'll just let people say what they want, do what they want, treat me how they want, get away with whatever they want. And I'm just not going to say anything because I don't want to be difficult. I don't want to be rigid. I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to make anything inconvenient. But how's that going for you? How does it feel to not let yourself have any boundaries? Do you feel great and important and valued? Or do you feel kind of like a doormat? Do you feel kind of taken advantage of? Do you feel kind of unappreciated? Do you feel kind of maybe even like nothing a lot of the time? So not having boundaries isn't nice for you, and it's not nice for other people, because people need to know where the edges are. We all want to know where the edges are with someone else. And we all need to be taking care of our own well-being by allowing ourselves to have boundaries. Allowing ourselves to have time and energy boundaries by saying, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is when I can do it, this is when I can't do it. Being able to have boundaries for what we're comfortable with talking about. I'm not comfortable talking about this. This is not a subject that I feel that I want to discuss. Having boundaries around our physical touch, how we like to be touched. I don't really like to be touched like that. I do really like to be touched like this. Please don't do that. Yeah, that's okay with me. And really making it clear where the edges are for ourselves, because not only does that feel better for ourselves, to not feeling like we're being taken advantage of, or our limits are being pushed, or maybe even sometimes violated, is it also helps our relationships because other people know where they stand. They know what's okay with us, they know what's not okay with us, and they don't have to guess and wonder or feel like they're walking on eggshells. So not having boundaries isn't actually very nice for others or for ourselves. But figuring out where our boundaries are, being able, when and if appropriate, to be somewhat flexible with those boundaries. We don't want to be super rigid and inflexible, but also deciding what is really important to you and standing firm in that. The next one is, if you do have boundaries and let yourself have boundaries, it's not nice to also let those boundaries to be continuously violated. So I mentioned about learning how to be flexible with your boundaries, but that doesn't mean that you're always like, oh, well, I'll just let this slide. Oh, well, that's okay. Oh, well, I guess it's more important to them than it is to me. Oh, well, it made me uncomfortable, but saying something would make them uncomfortable. And so really recognizing when you're letting your boundaries be violated. So it is important to figure out where your boundaries are, and then being able to figure out how you want to communicate them in a clear, kind, and classy way. And then holding your boundaries and not just sort of giving up and giving in because it's going to be hard or difficult or inconvenient. It might put somebody off a little bit to have to respect your boundaries. I have a whole course on healthy boundaries because this is such a big topic. It's called Healthy Boundaries Bootcamp. You can get more information about it in the description below. But if you just want a little bit of a start off, then you can also get my 25 healthy ways to say no. That'll help if you struggle with being able to say no in and of itself because you're worried about how people are going to react to it. You're worried about how you're going to feel about it. This is a great place to start. That's a free download. You can also get more information about Healthy Boundaries Bootcamp in the description. The next way that we try to be nice but actually isn't so nice is giving people endless chances. How often have you made an excuse for someone who treats you badly, who takes advantage of you, who is inconsistent, doesn't do what they say they're going to do, doesn't respect you in the way that you've asked to be respected, doesn't listen to you or honor you in the way that you've asked to be honored or listened to? Where is it that you have been constantly giving someone chances to hurt you, to even harm you, to mistreat you? And really recognizing that that's not helpful for anyone. And now it's not saying that you do this one more time and you're cut off and you're cut out forever. It's not that, but it's saying, I have asked you about this. We have talked about this. You have even agreed to do this or not do this, and now you're doing it again. This is not okay. I am putting my foot down and I am drawing a line in the sand because I will not allow this to continue. I will not stick around for being treated this way. We can't control somebody else. We can't say, I will not let you treat me this way, because we can't stop someone from doing whatever. They can do whatever they want, but we can decide whether or not we are going to make ourselves available for it. It's not actually helpful to keep giving chances, because what that teaches people is they can do whatever they want. They can treat us however they want. They can act however they want. And there really isn't going to be any consequence to it. There's no reason to stop because you keep making it okay. It's like if you're at the grocery store with your child and you tell them, we're not buying any treats when we're in line today. And then they get upset and they kind of kick and scream. And you're like, okay, I will get you that treat. But next time we're definitely not. And then the next time you go, you say, no, we're not doing this. And then they kick and they scream and they yell and they make a scene. And then you give into it. Well, of course, they're going to keep doing the thing that you don't want them to do, even though you've told them you don't want them to do it, because you keep giving them chances. You keep giving in. You keep allowing it. And so it's not nice to keep giving people chances, because it is not helpful for them to continue on acting in these ways that are often not only hurtful or harmful to you, but not good for them either. And it's not good for you to let yourself be mistreated. That's not nice for anyone. The next one is pretending everything is okay when it's not. There is a time and place to share what you're really going through, to talk openly and vulnerably about what you're experiencing, what you're finding hard, what you're struggling with. And it's not going to be something that you talk about with everyone or anywhere. But pretending like everything is okay when it's really not is not actually nice. Getting those safe, supportive relationships. And if you don't have friends in your life like that, getting a therapist, coming and joining us in the Shift Society, my membership community where people are honest and vulnerable and real about what they're going through, and then getting the help and the support and the guidance and the tools that they need to work through this stuff. But it's not nice to just pretend it's okay. You don't need to worry so much about letting people care about you and for you. If things are not okay, then it needs to be addressed. It needs to be honored and acknowledged. Because if we're not actually looking at it, talking about it, dealing with it, it can't get better. And we keep ourselves in suffering. And we keep ourselves separated from others by not actually being authentic and real with them. And that's not very nice. The next thing that we do is thinking that we need to forgive and forget immediately. How often have you heard that? Just let it go. Don't hang on to it. Just forgive them. Forget it even happened. I'm going to be the nice person. I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm just going to forgive them. Now, there might be some situations where that is totally appropriate. So your friend forgets to meet you and kind of stands you up and leaves you there in the coffee shop or at the restaurant or on the corner of the street while you're waiting to go for a walk with them. And it might just be one of those things where, like, you know what? These things happen. I forgive them. I have definitely, forgotten things before myself. I have definitely messed up in these ways before. Or if I haven't yet, I probably will at some point. So we're all human. None of us are perfect. And you might just be willing to just forgive, forget, move on. It's fine. But I'm talking more about those bigger things, those bigger transgressions, those bigger hurts, those betrayals, those harms, where you're like, I don't feel ready to just forgive and forget. Because sometimes it can feel like if we're just forgiving something and forgetting it, that it's as if it never happened. And sometimes we need to acknowledge and honor the fact that it did happen. It did have an effect on us. It did have a consequence to us in maybe a medium kind of way, or maybe in a really big way. And we need to honor that. And we need to care for ourselves in that. And maybe we're not quite ready to forgive, and we're definitely not ready to forget. And being a nice person doesn't mean that you just let everything go and let it all slide. That's not going to be good for you. That's not going to be good for anyone. So letting yourself go through a process of forgiveness, especially when it comes to these bigger harms or abuses or mistreatments, it needs a process. You need probably some help to be able to acknowledge those feelings, process those feelings, understand that experience, and move through it so that you can forgive. But you don't have to forget. Unless you want to, and that would be something that's important for you, you don't have to. You're allowed to get to that point where you can forgive and also acknowledge that this did happen, and I am not going to continue to hold myself hostage to it or you hostage to it, but I am not going to forget it because it was real, and I want to honor that. And then the next thing that we often think is nice is not saying anything because we want to keep the peace. So suppressing again your true feelings and not actually saying how something impacted you, how something hurt you, how something threw you off. Being able to be honest, being able to be authentic. Now, we have to be careful with this because we don't want to bring up every little thing that someone does or says that might throw us off or trigger us. Oftentimes, we need to be looking a little more deeply in ourselves and asking, okay, why did this bother me so much? Why did this get to me? Why did this hurt me? Was it meant to do that? Or is this something I need to just sort of sort through on my own, look at my own triggers, look at my own insecurities, work through my own stuff, because it wasn't actually something that the person meant to do to hurt or harm me. This was stuff that was coming up in me. So there are times when we need to work through our own stuff and don't need to bring up every little thing, every little comment or sideways glance or big exhale that someone does in our presence and talk about how that impacted us. You can if you want. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's going to be exhausting for the other person if it's constantly you bringing things up. They're going to get tired of it. They're going to be like, you know what? Sometimes I just need to be able to exist in my own life, in your presence, without you taking everything personally, without you reading into things that are not meant in any kind of hurtful way. So it really is a bit of a dance. It really is a bit of an art figuring out for ourselves, what do I need to bring up? And what do I just need to sort through on my own? But it's definitely not nice to just pretend that everything is okay all the time when it's not. To always be pushing aside and pushing down when something hurts us or affects us. For the sake of the health of our relationships, we need to be able to have these honest conversations. We need to be able to bring things up. We need to be able to talk about stuff. And also remembering our clean, clear, and classy communication when we're doing it. So they're not being aggressive or accusatory or critical of them or passive aggressive. We are keeping our communication clean, clear, and classy. So, which of these things are you like, oh gosh, I have been doing those things, thought I was being nice, but I also know that it hasn't been good for me, but I didn't know what to do. Let me know in the comments section below. Grab that free download, 25 Healthy Ways to Say No. If you want to be doing the deeper boundary work, look at the Healthy Boundaries Bootcamp. That is there as well. And taking a second with yourself and recognizing that, maybe it's actually time to work on being nice in an authentic way to others that is also nice to me. Always good to have you here. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Take good care of those around you. Bye for now.